I walked into the port one day to see little Antony sitting at the table with Leonard. "Donald," he said, "I'm off to Paris to see the Gauguin exhibit." I said, "You are?" Rather surprised. Leonard sits there listening and looking and smiling a bit. We both said goodbye to him. We watched him go up the gangplank to the ferry boat. I remember he turned at the top, took his white handkerchief out, and he waved it to both of us. Sailed away. After that, it was all up to the gods. I didn't see Antony for some months after that, but apparently after quite a hectic spell in Paris, which he was sleeping on the streets at one point in a cardboard box, I heard, with somebody he described as a genius, Donald, penniless and on the streets, but living like a king. He was arrested at one point too by the Paris police for being drunk and disorderly or something like that. But they loved him so much. They fed him. They bought wine for him. He had the freedom of the jail till he was rescued by some Irish civil servants who happened to be in France at the time, who took him back to England, his birthplace, found him a old age pensioner's flat to live in, no rent, arranged for him to get a little pension and free bus tickets and half-price cinema tickets. I recall he told me later. And did it bring him onto his feet? Not really. I mean, how can a genius, a mentor, an artist with a capital A live like that? He did come back to the island just for a break 8 or 9 months later. I met him in the port. Leonard was nowhere in sight. And I said, "You've got to come up the hill and see my little shack, Antony. You can even move in with me if you feel like it." Well, I carried him up the hill. He could hardly walk. He was frailer than he'd been in the past. He called me the great survivor, said he'd meet me later in our favorite taverna. But when I went down there was no sign of him. And next thing I heard, he was back in London. Surviving? No, I think he was dying this time, because he woke up one night after he'd been there again for a few weeks with pains, and they rushed him to the hospital, and he died under the anesthetic, age 68. And when we heard about that, of course, we cried, because there was really no one like Kingy.